Welcome back to Freedom and Ease in Online Business, the go-to podcast for online coaches and service providers ready to ditch burnout, master their money, and build a thriving and profitable business that feels joyful, aligned, and sustainable. Welcome to Miriam's New Look podcast episodes. I've decided that I'm going to take advantage of the fact that inspiration strikes me usually when I'm out and about, when I'm out in nature. So I'm going to be starting to do some recordings on the fly, sitting in the front yard as I am now, in the backyard or on the deck or out on a walk. And so in advance, I will say, number one, there may be cups of coffee involved. Number two, there may be traffic as there is now. And number three, audio could be questionable at times because I still haven't found the right solution for connecting my Oppo with a decent external mic. If anyone can save me there, please reach out, but I've tried every freaking thing. Anyway, let's talk about money habit archetypes, because I don't know if you've noticed, but more money doesn't change your money patterns. That's actually one of my favorite little soapbox statements because it says so much. See, the thing is that people will spend their life trying to fight their ingrained money patterns and thinking that if they just make more money, it'll fix that pattern. It'll fix that pattern of maybe the money seems to disappear as quickly as it comes in, or there never seems to be quite enough, or they never quite feel secure in their finances. And so they spend their lifetime thriving and thriving and thriving, trying to make more money to try and kind of, scratch that itch or ease that pain is probably a better way of saying it. And it doesn't really work. It just keeps you in this perpetual, chasing the carrot on the stick pattern. And here's why, because that pattern isn't about the amount of money that you've got rolling in at all. What it's actually about is it's about a deeper money story. And so recognizing the pattern is step number one, and it's really essential because if you can't recognize the pattern, then you've got no hope of getting to step two. And getting to step two is actually identifying what is that story, what is that belief that's running the show, that's keeping that pattern alive. And then you can start to work on transforming it. Now, I will say something else though, because you can also learn to work with your money habit archetype so that in the meantime, like while you're trying to unravel all those deeply wired in stories and limiting beliefs, you can actually start to approach life and business and money in a way that doesn't kind of activate that pattern and make you constantly bump up against it, that makes you constantly experience those sabotage moments, or that trying to budget, but then you just blow the budget more than you ever did before. Like, have you ever experienced that? Yeah, that's a really common thing, because what happens when you're trying to budget, if your money habit archetype is, say, that of a spender or that of an overextender, then you're actually trying to force your way through that pattern. And your unconscious will rebel against that and kind of overcompensate. And that's where that blowing the budget more than ever before, making some really silly purchase decisions kind of stuff comes into it. So be aware that getting to know your money habit archetype is a really powerful first step, because number one, you can actually make sure that you don't end up with those, rebellion kind of moments where it really causes you even more stress, especially in the long run. And number two, it's the first step towards having that deeper conversation and that deeper look into what are these actual patterns? What is that actual story that I'm running, this deeper unconscious story that is keeping this pattern alive? Now, all this talk about money habit archetypes, what the hell are they? I haven't actually talked about that, have I? So the cool thing is there are only really three main patterns, three money habit archetypes. And they are, number one, hang on, I'm going to put my cup of coffee down because honestly, I'm not going to drink it anyway because I'm too busy talking. Number one, there is the accumulator. And the accumulator is the one that's always trying to put some money away for a rainy day. And they're really kind of motivated by that, trying to get to a sense of financial security. But unless you heal the pattern and the story that's at the deeper level, you're never going to feel secure. Millions of dollars in the bank, still not secure. And the story that I always like to share that kind of really illustrates that one is Gay Hendricks in his book, The Big Leap, tells the story of one of his clients who was a billionaire who would argue with his wife about her buying the expensive toilet paper. So that's somebody that, even though his net worth fluctuated sometimes by hundreds of millions of dollars in a day, depending on what the stock market was doing, he would still micro focus and fixate on the cost of the toilet paper and that what that was doing to their household budget, right? Can you see how that's not a very healthy kind of attitude to money, and how someone like that, even worth billions of dollars, still doesn't feel secure enough in their finances to just go, baby, knock yourself out. You buy whatever toilet paper you like because we are rich, right? It's nuts. And then so that's the accumulator, and that's a really good example of it. Then the next one is the spender money habit archetype. And they're the person who always has money flow in and it goes up in smoke and just disappears. And you can kind of see that pattern, especially with people who suddenly come into a whole lot of money. There's a couple of things that go on there, but if they're a spender, it's exacerbated even more. The first thing that actually happens when somebody suddenly comes into a lot of money is that it way exceeds their comfort zone of how much abundance, how much capacity they have to hold abundance. That's why it's so important to energetically expand so that we can actually hold and be comfortable with that higher level of abundance, right? So that's one part of it. But if they're also a spender where their general pattern is money comes, money goes, easy come, easy go, and as soon as it comes in, it's like, oh, what can I buy with that? Then that pattern's even worse. So, I had a kind of really cool example of that live next door to me, where we had neighbors who'd come into a humongous amount of money, multiple eight figures, kind of overnight. And they decided to build themselves a nice little family home. And I think the initial budget was something like 5 million. It ended up costing them 9. Not only that, but by the time they'd spent the $9 million, they decided they didn't really like the house anymore. So they sold it at a huge loss, like multi-million-dollar loss, and decided to buy a new house worth a few million as well. But they were happy there. So good little example of that, right? And then the third money habit archetype is called the overextender. And the overextender is the one that you give them some money and they manage to use it as a down payment to get into more debt. All right. So it's the kind of person that they might win, I don't know, $10,000, and they will go and put it as a deposit on a car and take out a car loan for the rest of that beautiful new Ferrari. That's the kind of person we're talking about. And honestly, in my world, I don't come across too many of them. I was raised by one of them. My father was actually exactly that pattern. And maybe that's why I'm nothing like that, because we tend to either mimic our parents or rebel and become the opposite. One I don't see very much of, because the people that are attracted to the work I do are usually the ones that are wired to move forward. So most of the people that are attracted to my work and that I end up working with are actually innate accumulators, because they want to build and create financial security and stability. And that's so deeply ingrained in them that it actually is really prevalent in their money habit patterns. So that's a really quick, going over the money habit archetypes and why they're such an important starting point for then looking at what the deeper wiring is. Because what we want is we want to build and create a state of abundance and financial security, and actually growing our net worth and, expanding our capacity to receive so that we can share more of that abundance with the people around us. And we want to do it from a really healthy place, not from a place of feeling like it's still not enough. And so knowing your money habit archetype is the very first step. And then you move on to those other steps that I talked about. So if you don't yet know what your money habit archetype is, this would be a really good time to find out. I actually have a quiz to help you do that. It's just 5 quick questions, and I'll pop the link underneath this episode. Let me know in the comments, what's your money habit archetype, and what are some of the ways that that pattern has been showing up for you? Because the moment that you uncover your money habit archetype and understand it better, you're going to go, oh, that's why this keeps happening. That's why I keep experiencing this kind of thing over and over and over again. It's just part of the bigger pattern. And remember, more money doesn't change the pattern, it just amplifies it. So the next step after you discover your money habit archetype is to actually start shifting the story that's running it. But first, you've got to know what it is. So that's what the link underneath this episode is for. Make sure you share what it is with me in the comments, and I will see you next time. Have yourself a magical day. Bye for now.